Hey guys, welcome back to TDK and Blightbringer and CALLOUS Invitational 3 Round 1 action. Thank you for joining me again. I just want to say real quick before the game that the description, which you guys should check out, contains the link to the CALLOUS Invitational 3 Discord server that everybody should join, as well as our official thread on Pokemon Perfect. So those are the two big links that if you want to follow this tournament, if you want to know everything that's going on, when the players are playing, who's paired against who, all that good stuff, those are the two things that you need to check out. Also, just want to remind everybody, we are accepting monetary donations to support the prize pool of this tournament, as well as to support myself, and by default through this tournament, the whole entire ADV community. Alrighty, let's get into game 2. We're going to do a little switcheroo here, get Blightbringer on the bottom where he was before. He'll have a Metagross lead against TDK on top with a Salamence lead, but both players opt for a switch, Blissey and Magneton. Now Blissey and Metagross. Meta does have lefties here. Misses a Meteor Mash. That's a crappy start for TDK, who is already down a game. Meta on Meta here. Second Meteor Mash miss. Very unlucky. Granted, that one doesn't matter as much as the one on Blissey would have, but it's still unlucky. Shows Protect. That's kind of outdated. We haven't seen a lot of Protect meta in recent times. We'll see if he can make use of it here. He hits an incoming Cloyster with an Earthquake. Surf comes down, and it's just going to be a boom. I'm surprised he went Surf there. I'm not sure what he was trying to hit. I think the obvious play was just to spike up there, and I'm surprised that he didn't. That might have been a mistake for Blightbringer. I don't understand the Surf. I really don't know what the best case scenario would have been there, what he thought he was trying to hit. I think you just spike there basically always. But he sees it differently, and it ends up just being a one-for-one trade. But crucially, the spike does not come down. But again, maybe it doesn't matter as much as I thought, because again, TDK has brought Claydol. That poke has been really popular. I mean, Magdoll certainly, but just Claydol in general has been really popular in this tournament. It's seen a huge resurgence. Magdoll was all the trend coming into this tournament. It also feels like Blissey has been stupidly popular. It seems that way this game, because both players have one, or I guess now the proper word is had one, because Blightbringer no longer has his. But yeah, Blissey's been everywhere in this tour. Claydol's been popular. By default, a lot of these players, maybe because some of them are older players, or maybe because tournament is just so much different than ladder, or because these guys respect each other so much, but for whatever reason, it feels like a lot of these guys are defaulting back to sturdier, safer, more defensive teams, as opposed to the more offensive metagame that many players perceive it to be. There's been a lot of talk recently about a shift in recent times in ADV, in the past year, 6 months, whatever, to a more offensive metagame. But thus far in this tour, that hasn't been the case. That being said, here is an Aerodactyl that we've seen very little of in this tour. He's going to go double edge. That's going to connect with Magneton, resisted, of course. He does have lefties. And Blightbringer back against the wall in this one. Just 22 turns in. He's only got 2 Pokemon left against 4 from TDK. Meta goes Earthquake. Magneton obviously has to be afraid of that. Here comes Blissey. There's Earthquake. 37%. Bliss finds herself at 51. And by 51, I mean 0, as a Meteor Mash comes down. Crit may or may not have mattered, but nevertheless, it is now a 3-2 situation. Kuhn's going to rest as the Aerodactyl comes in. Magneton comes in, and that's going to resist Rock Slide. Would have resisted anything there other than Earthquake, which Blightbringer did not go for. We're going to pause at this point, because that turn I think is really important. So that was a Thunderbolt. It does 50% according to the chat. It rounds. It's not going to tell you that it did 50.3% or whatever it is. The Metagross from Blightbringer does not have leftovers, so every single point of damage counts. And according to this, it's left with exactly 50%. So here's a decision to make for TDK. If you think you're faster, which most of the time Magneton will be faster, if you think you're faster, do you stay in and go for it again? If you're wrong, let's say Metagross lives at 1% or whatever, and then it EQs back, you now lose your normal and your rock resist for purposes of Aerodactyl, and Aerodactyl becomes very dangerous. However, if you are right, if you go first, you Thunderbolt, and it kills it, that puts Blightbringer in a really bad spot, because that leaves him with only Aerodactyl, who can't Earthquake against these 3 remaining Pokemon from TDK, because the Salamence is immune to it, so that would force the Aerodactyl to somehow beat the Magneton that we already know has Protect, and the 2 other pokes, using either Hidden Power, Rock Slide, or Double Edge, which I think is, I don't want to say impossible, but damn close to impossible. So if TDK is faster, he stays in here and he kills with Thunderbolt, he basically wins the game on the spot. And remember that Blightbringer cannot switch here either. He's trapped because of Magnet Pull. So this is solely TDK's decision. Blightbringer has no choice but to just stay in and see what happens. He's just going to click Earthquake here. There is no other play. There's nothing to think about. So it's a matter of, does TDK attempt to stay in? I think a lot of players would. He's going to Protect here just for the lefties, which is the right play. Meteor Mash there. And he goes back to Coon. There's Earthquake. That would have killed the Magneton, obviously. It's interesting that he pulls it back. As I said, I think a lot of players would have stayed in that situation, but that is not what he opted to do. Salamence is going to come in. It dies to Double Edge. That matters, but he gets an Intimidate off, which also matters. Here's Meta. There's Thunderbolt. So this is another key turn, right? So the Metagross is now at 1%. It lives that Thunderbolt. We know there's a chance that it wasn't going to live that Thunderbolt because the previous one had done enough to where if he had gotten the same roll, Metagross would die. In theory here, TDK should just Thunderbolt again and you win, because between the Magneton with lefties and Protect and the Coon, you're going to beat the Aerodactyl. But here is the unexpected surprise of the game. How about that? Metagross is somehow faster than Magneton, which is almost never the case. Even when you are an Agilogross, they usually sit at no higher than, say, 204-ish. Even that's really high. That's the high end of an Agilogross. 200 is like the rough number to be for the sake of T-Tower, but I mean, a lot of them actually go lower than that because you don't need to go that high for agility to make it so you're faster than everything other than like Electrode and Ninjask, which don't count. But you're faster than Jolteon, you're faster than Arrow, blah, 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 without needing the full 200. So somehow this meta is faster than the Magneton here. I actually found out after this match that it is a linear curve team and that it is a Jolly Metagross, which is really funky. But, I mean, how could TDK have known that unless he knows the team? So that's going to catch him by surprise, and that's going to leave us in an awkward position. Now, remember that the Coon is asleep and has only been asleep for one turn. Now, unless the Coon outspeeds and has Sleep Talk, if Blightbringer has Boom, which he could, he's only shown 2 moves, he could just Boom here and win the game on the spot. And there's nothing TDK can do about that unless he goes first, finds Sleep Talk, finds Surf. And there it is. There's the Boom. Down it goes. And the Aerodactyl, I mean, 100% is almost irrelevant here, but the Aerodactyl's the last Pokemon standing. Blightbringer would send it out as a formality, and TDK just doesn't have anything left. So basically the reason that I paused on those turns was because this particular game just came down to a damage roll. Very, very crappy to have a game end that way, but that's just part of the game that we play. And had that Magneton killed the Metagross with the Thunderbolt as opposed to leaving it at 1%, TDK would win this game, and it would send us to a Game 3, and who knows what could have happened from there. But yeah, this game just comes down to the damage roll. The Metagross just barely survives it at 1%, and that turns out to be enough. So that is going to give Blightbringer the 2-0 victory over TDK. He'll advance into the winner's bracket. TDK will be knocked into the lower bracket. and we'll see what they can both do from there. I guess that's it for the night, unless Disno appears out of the blue and gives me those narrations. Give me a thumbs up if you like the set, and tomorrow's going to be a busy, busy day. All the more reason for you to get in the Discord channel and ask for the matches roll, because there's going to be a lot of matches to see. I hope to see you guys there. Either way, I'll see you soon here on YouTube. Have a great night.